When you stop being available, everything changes. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Have you ever noticed how your energy shifts when you simply choose to withdraw, to stop explaining, to stop showing up for people who only value your availability, not your presence? In this video, we'll explore the quiet power of becoming less accessible and how doing so can reveal not only who truly values you, but also unlock a deeper sense of inner peace and personal strength. Comment below. I choose my peace if you're ready to reclaim your energy and transform your life from the inside out. And don't forget, your voice matters here. Share your experiences in the comments and let's grow together. 1. The power of withdrawal and silence. Influential people don't need to raise their voice to shift a room. Their power isn't in noise, it's in presence, and more importantly, in their absence. When they choose to withdraw, when they stop responding emotionally or making themselves available, the energy around them changes. Suddenly, those who once relied on their reactions find themselves unsettled, confused, even powerless. That's the true impact of pulling your energy back from spaces that don't deserve it. When you're no longer available to be emotionally manipulated or controlled, people lose their grip not just on you, but on their illusion of control. This act of stepping back isn't passive, it's deeply intentional. You're not avoiding conflict, you're reclaiming your peace. You're not ignoring others, you're choosing yourself. Emotional availability has a cost, and for too long, many have paid that cost to maintain peace, to avoid guilt, to stay connected. But real peace begins when you stop sacrificing yourself for the comfort of others. When you withdraw from chaos, the chaos reveals itself. People start to expose their true intentions. Some get angry, some retreat, some try harder to provoke you not out of love, but out of fear of losing access to your energy. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But the reverse is also true. Everything that irritates others about your growth, your silence, your boundaries, is a mirror reflecting their own unhealed wounds. When you stop reacting, you no longer serve as a mirror they can shatter to avoid their own reflection. Your silence becomes a boundary. Your stillness becomes your shield. And your withdrawal becomes your protection, your power, your reset. People who once depended on your immediate attention now struggle with your absence. They wonder what changed. They question themselves. That's when the game flips, because now you're no longer responding from a place of emotional habit, but from a space of conscious intention. You're no longer available for guilt-tripping conversations, for one-sided emotional labor, or for dynamics that drain rather than nourish. You've made a spiritual decision to become selective with your energy, to honor your soul's capacity, to protect your peace like it's sacred because it is. Your energy is a currency. When you spend it wisely, you grow in silence. You heal in solitude. And you return not as the version they used to manipulate, but as the version they can no longer reach with the same tactics. You become energetically expensive, spiritually refined, emotionally sovereign. Your presence is no longer something others can access on demand. It's something they must earn, respect, and rise to meet. And that changes everything. Comment below, "I embrace the power of silence," if you're ready to protect your energy and reclaim your inner strength. 2. You are controlled by your own predictability. When you are too predictable, people learn how to manage you. They know what you'll say, how you'll react, and exactly what strings to pull to get what they want. You become easy to manipulate, not because you're weak, but because you're consistent in the wrong ways. You give your presence without pause, your energy without return, your empathy without protection. And that's when exhaustion sets in, not just physical tiredness, but soul-deep fatigue from always being available to everyone but yourself. This is what happens when you trade your life force to please those who don't value it. When your attention is always on call, it becomes background noise. The more you show up without being asked, the more your presence is taken for granted. Availability becomes expectation. Expectation becomes entitlement. And then suddenly, people don't thank you for showing up. They resent you when you don't. But the moment you stop responding on command, everything changes. Silence becomes your strength. Distance becomes your boundary. You are no longer reactive. You are selective. You are no longer accessible. You are intentional. And that shift, it confuses people. It disrupts the rhythm they relied on to keep you small. Some may get angry. Others will guilt you. But what they're really reacting to is the loss of control, because your availability was never about you. It was about their comfort. There is power in withdrawal. When you stop being emotionally and mentally on demand, you reveal the truth of your relationships. The people who only came for what they could take will fall away. The ones who stay, they're the ones who see your value, not your usefulness. You'll find that boundaries don't push the right people away. They protect your energy from the wrong ones. You are not here to be everyone's emergency contact. You are not here to keep peace at the cost of your own. You are here to grow, to thrive, to choose yourself. When you stop offering your presence as a default, others will begin to realize it was a privilege. They will either rise to meet you at your new standard or walk away. Both outcomes are a blessing. Let go of the belief that being constantly available is a virtue. It's not. It's a slow sacrifice of your power. And those who truly care won't require your constant presence to feel secure. They'll understand your silence, respect your space, and cherish your energy. Because your light was never meant to be dimmed for someone else's comfort. It was meant to shine in balance with wisdom, discernment, and love directed inward first. Have you ever noticed how being too available drains your energy and invites others to control your emotions? If you've broken free from that cycle, share your story in the comments to inspire others. If you're ready to reclaim your power, comment, "I choose my energy," and begin the shift today. 3. Persona and self-abandonment. You wear a mask, not because you're fake, but because you've been conditioned to believe it's the only way to be loved. This mask, your persona, is carefully shaped to meet expectations, to keep peace, to avoid rejection. But with every smile you force, every opinion you silence, every version of yourself you shrink to fit someone else's comfort, a small part of your true self gets left behind. And this isn't just people-pleasing, it's self-abandonment. The tragedy is that the more available you make yourself to others, the more unavailable you become to yourself. You show up when you're exhausted. You say yes when your soul screams no. You answer calls you don't want to take, attend events you don't feel aligned with, and maintain connections that drain you all because you're afraid of what will happen if you stop. But the truth is, availability becomes a silent betrayal. You trade your energy, your peace, even your dreams, to maintain relationships that require you to disappear. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Yet how can you become that person if you're constantly performing for love, acceptance, or approval? The moment you choose to stop being overly accessible, the dynamic changes. People who relied on your constant presence begin to panic. They question your distance, misinterpret your silence, and may even try to guilt you back into old patterns. That's because your predictability was part of their comfort. But your healing doesn't require their permission. When you withdraw your energy with intention, you reclaim your power. You're no longer moved by guilt or manipulated by obligation. Instead, you start to feel the quiet strength of alignment. You show up where you're celebrated, not just tolerated. You speak from your center, not from fear. And you finally recognize that protecting your peace is not selfish. It's sacred. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about stopping the silent self-betrayal. It's about asking yourself, do I feel free here? Am I being true to myself? You weren't born to be emotionally on call or to serve as someone else's emotional crutch. You were born to live as your whole, unfiltered self. And the day you stop being available to everything is the day you start becoming available to what truly matters. If this message resonates with you, it's time to reclaim your truth. Comment below, "I release the persona. I choose my true self." Let's walk this journey of authenticity together. 4. Psychological energy and unconscious standards. Your mind is an energy system. Every emotional reaction is a transaction. When you react, you pay. You don't just lose composure. You leak something far more valuable to your psychological energy. Jung understood that the mind isn't just a thinking machine. It's an energetic system. And that means every moment you spend over-explaining yourself, defending your boundaries, trying to be liked or understood, is a moment where your energy exits you and never returns. You feel drained not because you're weak, but because you're overdrawn. Tiredness isn't always a physical issue. It's spiritual debt. This is where unconscious standards quietly control your life. You learned, often without realizing, that being good meant being available. You were told to stay quiet to keep the peace, to say yes when your soul screamed no, to fix what wasn't yours to fix. These invisible expectations become your default setting, and suddenly, you're no longer responding from truth, but reacting from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. And every time you betray your inner truth to meet an outer demand, you fragment just a little more. We confuse kindness with self-erasure, but real kindness never costs you your vitality. When your energy goes toward being agreeable rather than authentic, you pay with your peace. Emotional exhaustion becomes your norm, but no one sees it because your performance is flawless. You smile, you nod, you help, but deep down, you're hollow. Not because you're broken, but because you've poured yourself into everyone else's needs and left nothing for your own. A person who is emotionally tired isn't broken. They're simply misaligned. Their energy is being funneled into patterns of overgiving, over-explaining, over-pleasing. These actions are not neutral. They're costly. And what's worse, the return on that energy is often emptiness. No appreciation, no reciprocity, just more silent expectations. So you keep giving, and the burnout deepens. Every time you choose to explain yourself to someone who has already made up their mind, you lose energy. Every time you say yes to avoid guilt, you betray yourself. And each one of those small betrayals becomes a leak in your soul's container. Over time, you begin to notice the signs. You're constantly tired. You feel unseen. Your joy fades. These are not coincidences, they're consequences. But awareness is liberation. When you realize where your energy is going, you gain the power to redirect it. You stop giving explanations to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop offering help where it's not honored. You stop performing availability as a survival strategy. And in that stillness, in that silence, in that withdrawal, something holy begins to return: your self-respect, your clarity, your power. Carl Jung didn't just teach about the unconscious. He taught about reclaiming the self from its grip. And that begins when you recognize that availability is not virtue if it costs you your essence. You were not born to be drained. You were born to be divine. And energy, once reclaimed, becomes the fuel for a life finally aligned with your soul. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to our channel and join a community committed to conscious living and inner clarity. Here, we explore the unseen forces that shape our energy and reclaim the power we unknowingly give away. Remember, your energy is sacred. Use it wisely. 5. The trap of darkness, projection, and silent manipulation. Others don't always fight you with words. Often, they use silence. Not the calm kind, but the kind that cuts deep, meant to confuse, manipulate, and quietly control. When someone projects their own inner conflict onto you, they are trying to offload what they cannot face within themselves. They may make you feel like the problem, when in truth, they're at war with their own unresolved emotions. Silent manipulation is one of the most subtle yet destructive tactics they use. It's the quiet treatment after you've set a boundary, the cold distance when you begin to value yourself, the withdrawal of affection when you no longer play the role they've assigned you. This is projection in its most dangerous form. It's not just about blaming you. It's about casting their unaccepted darkness onto you so they don't have to carry it. But the moment you stop reacting, stop defending yourself, and stop engaging in their emotional game, everything shifts. The mask they've put on you begins to fall. Suddenly, their illusion is exposed, and they are forced to confront the very thing they fear most themselves. Your silence doesn't just confuse them, it dismantles their control. In a world where availability is often mistaken for loyalty, withdrawing becomes your most powerful move. The person who once used your empathy against you will struggle when they can no longer trigger a reaction. They may try harder, more silence, more withdrawal, more guilt. But each time you choose not to engage, you claim back energy that was never meant to be drained in the first place. Your refusal to be available to manipulation isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the recognition that your presence is valuable and shouldn't be wasted in emotional power games. The truth is, when you are no longer accessible to projection, you force people to face what they've buried. That's why they panic. Not because you hurt them, but because they can no longer hide behind you. Your peace becomes uncomfortable for them. Your detachment makes them restless, and their discomfort reveals the very projection they once disguised as concern, love, or loyalty. They were never really looking at you. They were looking at their own shadow. And now that the mirror is gone, they're lost. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That is the work they refuse to do. And that's exactly why your withdrawal is a form of truth. Because the moment you stop allowing others to use your energy as a dumping ground for their unconscious baggage, you begin to see clearly who is truly capable of real connection and who only showed up to control. You are not obligated to hold space for someone's unhealed wounds at the cost of your well-being. If your silence breaks illusions, let it. If your absence exposes truth, let it. When you stop being available, everything changes, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally chosen to stop being who they needed you to be for their illusion to survive. Comment: I see the projection. If you've ever felt the weight of someone else's shadow placed on you. Or share, I choose clarity, if you're ready to break free from silent manipulation and stand in your truth. Let's bring these hidden patterns into the light together. 6. The development of the comfort game when you become unavailable. When you stop responding, your silence doesn't go unnoticed. It becomes a powerful disruptor. You're no longer playing the comfort game, where your availability was a tool others used to maintain control. Suddenly, the person who once relied on your reactions is left without a script. They may start to blame you, criticize you, or accuse you of being cold, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've stopped serving their emotional comfort. The silence you offer strips them of their ability to manipulate through your predictability. This shift often reveals the real dynamic that was hiding behind politeness and connection. Your presence was never just appreciated, it was used. The moment you take that presence away, the truth surfaces. You were the emotional caretaker. You were the one who constantly gave without needing to be asked. But the cost was your energy, your identity, your peace. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." So when your absence starts to irritate others, it's not about you. It's showing them what they've been avoiding within themselves. Your silence becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. Some people depended on your constant availability to avoid their own emptiness. Your silence makes them feel exposed. It strips away the illusion of control. Suddenly, they must face themselves, and that's terrifying for people who've built their sense of safety around your emotional labor. So they may attack, guilt trip, or demand explanations, not because they care, but because they miss the version of you that served them. But here's the truth. Your withdrawal is not rejection, it is redirection. When you become unavailable to emotional manipulation, you reclaim your power. You begin to conserve your psychological energy, redirect it toward your healing, your growth, your truth. You start attracting connections that are aligned with mutual respect, where you're not constantly performing emotional CPR for people who refuse to take responsibility for their own healing. Being unavailable is not coldness. It's a sacred boundary. It's choosing to stop leaking energy into people who only show up when they need something from you. And in doing so, you invite those who respect your silence, your time, your presence. You begin to see clearly who was drawn to your light and who was drawn to the warmth they could take from it. So when the criticisms come, when the guilt tripping begins, remember, their discomfort is not your burden. It's a sign that you're no longer maintaining the illusion. You're no longer available to be the emotional placeholder in someone else's unfinished story. You've stepped out of their narrative and into your own. And from here, everything changes. Are you beginning to see how your silence can be your strength? If this message resonates with you, comment below. I choose my peace to affirm your power and reclaim your energy. Let's grow stronger together on this path of self-respect and inner clarity. 7. Silence is a kind of conscious power. Silence is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's a conscious act of power. When you choose silence, not from fear, but from self-awareness, you are making one of the most powerful, energetic statements a person can make. You're saying, I no longer waste my energy explaining myself to those committed to misunderstanding me. Silence becomes your filter. It's the boundary that protects your spirit from emotional warfare disguised as conversation. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of defending, you detach. And the moment you do, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, those who once fed off your reactions begin to lose their grip. This kind of silence breaks control. It frustrates those who relied on your emotional availability to fuel their own insecurities. They may accuse you of being distant, cold, or selfish, but they're not angry because you're wrong. They're angry because you've withdrawn the supply. You're no longer predictable, no longer easy to manipulate. That's when their mask begins to slip. They reveal their true intentions not through honesty, but through how they respond to your stillness. Your silence forces them to face themselves. And for many, that's the most terrifying thing of all. Carl Jung wrote, "Individuation requires separation from the noise of the world to listen to oneself." In a society obsessed with constant validation, your silence becomes a spiritual rebellion. It's a return to self. You begin to realize that not every voice deserves a response, and not every situation deserves your energy. When you stop giving your reactions away, you start to build your internal power. Your emotional energy stops leaking into meaningless conflict. You become more selective, more grounded, more whole. You stop trading peace for approval. This isn't about cutting people off. It's about choosing what deserves access to your sacred energy. When you are constantly explaining, defending, and pleasing, you are abandoning yourself to stay in someone else's story. But when you choose silence, you reclaim the narrative. You move from reaction to reflection. You create space to hear your own voice again. And in that space, healing begins. Clarity returns. And strength, real strength, starts to grow. The ones who misunderstand your silence are often the ones who benefited from your noise, but you owe them no explanation. Your withdrawal is not punishment, it's protection. It's how you stay aligned with your truth in a world that constantly pulls you in 1,000 directions. Every moment you choose stillness over drama, presence over performance, you deepen your connection to what truly matters. So when the world demands your reaction, offer your silence. When chaos invites you in, stay rooted. When someone tries to draw you into a battle that doesn't honor your spirit, step back. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Not to retreat, but to rise. Because real power doesn't always roar sometimes. It's found in the quiet decision to protect your energy and listen to your soul. If this message resonates with your soul, comment below. I embrace the power of conscious silence. I choose peace over reaction. Your words might inspire someone else on their journey to inner strength. 8. The price of silence and choosing yourself. You will be misunderstood. People will call you cold, distant, even selfish, not because you've done anything wrong, but because they can no longer access the version of you that abandoned yourself to keep them comfortable. The real issue isn't your silence. It's that your silence exposes their dependence on your presence, your validation, and your predictable reactions. When you withdraw, when you stop being emotionally available, people panic not out of love, but out of habit. Silence is not emptiness. It is purification. It is the sacred act of pulling your energy inward, of no longer leaking your life force into places that do not honor your soul. In silence, you begin to hear again, not the noise of the world, but the voice of your inner truth. The nervous system relaxes, the fog clears, and suddenly, you begin to remember who you are without the expectations, without the performance, without the weight of constant availability. This silence is your power. It is not passive. It is a conscious stand. You are not ignoring the world. You are choosing what deserves your energy. Every text you don't respond to immediately. Every conversation you walk away from. Every urge to explain yourself that you resist. These are not acts of cruelty, but of self-respect. You are no longer available for emotional manipulation. You are no longer a participant in the comfort game of others. And when you stop showing up to serve dysfunction, dysfunction starts calling you names. A woman once shared that when she began to say no, when she stopped replying within minutes, when she began prioritizing her own healing, the same people who praised her kindness turned against her. But what really changed? Only one thing: she stopped making herself small so others could feel big. That's the price of choosing yourself. You lose those who only love the version of you that served their needs, not your truth. This path is not easy. It is lonely. It is misunderstood. But it is also deeply sacred. It is the way you reclaim your energy, your worth, your life. When you are no longer emotionally predictable, people who once controlled you with guilt and chaos will become desperate. They will try to provoke a reaction, not because they love you, but because your silence makes them face themselves. And that is the most terrifying thing for people who have always escaped through you. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them talk. Let them call you what they need to call you to soothe their ego. You are not here to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You are here to live in alignment. You are here to become whole. And in that wholeness, you will finally meet the one person you have always been running from yourself. If this message speaks to your soul, repeat after me. I choose myself. I honor my silence. I trust that this space is healing me. Type it in the comments to affirm your journey, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wisdom that nourishes your spirit. 9. Rebirth from loneliness and basic choices. Loneliness, at first, feels like a punishment. It aches in your chest and makes the hours stretch endlessly. It stirs up the old need to belong, to be seen, to be wanted. But over time, something deeper begins to surface. You stop fighting the silence. You stop searching for noise to fill the void. Instead, you start listening to your breath, your thoughts, your memories, your emotions. What once felt like abandonment slowly transforms into intimacy with yourself. You are no longer running from solitude. You are learning to be with it. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone. but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. In truth, we don't suffer from the absence of people. We suffer from the absence of truth, our truth. We suffer when we shrink ourselves to keep others comfortable, when we smile through what hurts, when we stay available to people who only show up for the version of us that plays a role in their script. And the moment you stop being that person, the rescuer, the yes-sayer, the constant comfort, you begin to lose them. You lose the ones who only love the mask. But in their leaving, you find something greater. You find the real you, the one who no longer performs for approval, the one who no longer trades authenticity for attachment, the one who knows that peace is not in the crowd, but in the core. This is the silent rebirth, the cocoon phase, the dying of the persona and the awakening of presence. When you retreat into this stillness, the world might not understand. They might call you distant, cold, selfish. But they're simply reacting to their own discomfort because your detachment exposes the illusion of control. They no longer have access to your energy. They no longer get to pull your strings. You become a mystery, and that mystery makes them uncomfortable. Not because you've changed, but because they can no longer predict or manipulate your responses. You are no longer performing, and that threatens those who depended on your compliance. But this is the price of true alignment, and it is worth it, because now your energy is not leaking through every yes you didn't mean. It's not being drained by every call you picked up out of guilt. You reclaim yourself. You protect your peace. You understand that emotional availability is a sacred currency not everyone deserves access. So you stop showing up where love is conditional. You stop giving where there is no reciprocity. You stop explaining your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. And what remains is clarity, power, freedom. Loneliness becomes a doorway, not a dead end. You learn to enjoy your own company, to honor your inner rhythm, to breathe without performing. And in that quiet space, something miraculous happens. You are reborn, not as who they need you to be, but as who you truly are. Comment below. I choose myself. If you're ready to rise from loneliness, reconnect with your true self, and walk boldly in your authentic presence, let this be the moment you honor who you are becoming. Reset your energy levels and set boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt. It is not just a word, it is an energetic reset. Every time you choose not to respond immediately, every time you allow yourself to pause before giving your energy away, you reclaim a piece of your power. You're not being distant, you're being deliberate. You don't owe instant replies. You don't owe your availability to anyone. What you owe is your presence to your own soul. Your silence does not need to be explained. It is not a punishment. It is a signal. It tells the world that your peace is no longer up for negotiation, that you are no longer entertaining people who only seek you when it's convenient for them, that you are no longer sacrificing your well-being to maintain an illusion of connection. Silence is the boundary that doesn't need a wall. It's the answer that speaks without words. Carl Jung once said, "Every true self-return requires a period of spiritual isolation." This is not about being alone. It is about becoming aligned. In your quiet, you begin to hear what the noise drowned out. You realize that constant availability is not love. It is self-abandonment. When you are always there for others, but never for yourself, you become energetically bankrupt. This is why you must withdraw. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. People who truly care won't require your exhaustion to feel connected. Those who become uncomfortable with your boundaries were benefiting from your lack of them. Your unavailability forces others to sit with their projections, their expectations, their discomfort, and that's not your responsibility to fix. When you stop feeding dysfunction, you begin to nourish your soul. This is your sacred turning point. Let your withdrawal be intentional. Let your silence be cleansing. Let your energy become sacred again. The fewer people who have access to you, the more you have access to yourself. Stop trying to explain why you need rest. Stop justifying your healing. You don't need permission to be unavailable. You only need presence to yourself. Be clear. Be still. Be unseen, if that's what it takes to be whole. In your absence, truth will rise. In your quiet, direction will form. This is the power of spiritual isolation. This is the medicine of not responding, not explaining, not overextending. You are not lost. You are returning. You are not cold. You are conscious. You are not selfish. You are healing. And if this resonates with your soul, let it be known. Comment, I choose my peace. Because peace isn't found, it's claimed. And today, you choose you. And remember this, when you stop being constantly available emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you begin to reclaim your power. That quiet shift isn't about punishment, it's about realignment. Carl Jung taught us that withdrawing isn't weakness. It's a return to self, to wholeness, to truth. So as you move forward, honor your energy, protect your peace, and allow the world to adjust to the new version of you. If this message spoke to your soul, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more transformative insights. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming uploads. Your journey inward is just beginning, and we're honored to walk it with you. See you in the next video. Crescent Moon and M on your hand. Here are 5 things that will happen if you have this. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Caroline Miss. Have you ever looked at your hand and noticed a mysterious crescent moon shape or the letter M etched in your palm? These aren't just random patterns. They may be signs pointing to your spiritual destiny. In today's episode of Spiritual Wisdom, we're diving into the 5 powerful things that happen if you have one of these marks. These ancient symbols could reveal your inner gifts, your mission, and the unique light you bring to this world. So pay close attention. Your hands may be whispering truths your soul has been waiting to remember. Do you see the crescent moon or the M? Let us know in the comments, yes, I have it, or no, but I'm curious. And if this resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a sign. 1. Spiritual awakening and intuition. The crescent moon and the letter M are not just random shapes found on your palm. They are ancient spiritual symbols that carry deep meaning, especially for those walking a path of inner awakening. These markings have been observed for centuries by mystics and healers as signs of heightened perception, strong intuition, and an unspoken connection to the spiritual realm. If you happen to bear one or both of these signs, it suggests that your soul has come into this life with a unique sensitivity and purpose that cannot be ignored. The crescent moon, often appearing near the base of the fingernails or thumb, is a universal symbol of the hidden, the mystical, and the unseen. It represents the divine feminine, the nurturing energy of the subconscious, and the intuitive flow that transcends logic. Those who carry this symbol on their hand tend to feel things deeply. They don't just hear words, they feel the intention behind them. They may experience sudden waves of emotion in a room without knowing why, or have moments where the truth of a situation becomes instantly clear without explanation. This spiritual clarity isn't learned, it's remembered, awakened from within. Meanwhile, the letter M is formed by the intersection of major palm lines, usually the headline, heart line, and lifeline, and is considered a mark of destiny. People with this M are often described as old souls, born with a deep sense of knowing and purpose. They may feel different from others, as if they see beneath the surface of life. They're often drawn to spiritual topics, personal growth, or healing professions, not because it's trendy, but because their spirit has been nudging them toward these paths since childhood. There's an inner compass guiding them, and the M is one of the physical confirmations of that unseen force. Living with these gifts isn't always easy. Intuitive people can struggle in noisy, chaotic environments because they absorb too much. They may retreat often, seeking stillness to process the energetic information they're constantly receiving. They might feel misunderstood by those who rely only on logic and dismiss the unseen. But over time, they begin to realize that their sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a superpower. The ability to sense subtle shifts, to hear what isn't spoken, and to feel what others suppress is part of their spiritual mission on earth. To develop these gifts, it's important to treat your intuition like a sacred instrument. Journaling allows you to recognize patterns in your thoughts, dreams, and experiences. For example, you might write about a gut feeling you had before meeting someone new, and later realize that feeling was warning you of something. Keeping track of these moments builds spiritual trust in yourself. Meditation deepens that trust. By sitting in silence each day, even for just 5 or 10 minutes, you give your inner guidance room to rise. In that quiet space, clarity emerges, and you begin to feel when something is right or wrong before your mind has time to analyze it. These practices don't require special tools or expensive courses. They require your presence, your willingness to listen, and your trust in the invisible. The crescent moon and the M are not random. They're reminders. Reminders that you came here with a blueprint, a vibration, and a mission that's unlike anyone else's. They remind you that you're not just a physical being, but a spiritual one, navigating a world that often forgets the sacred. Are you beginning to recognize the power of your spiritual intuition? If this message resonates with you, it's time to honor that inner voice. Comment below. I trust my intuition, to affirm your awakening and let others know they're not alone on this sacred journey. Two, connection to ancient wisdom. The letter M on your palm is not just an ordinary convergence of skin lines. It is a powerful spiritual configuration formed by the heart line, the headline, the lifeline, and the fate line. Each of these lines alone carries significance, but when they join to form the sacred M, it suggests that your soul has walked through many lifetimes and carries the echoes of ancient wisdom. This mark is not common. It belongs to individuals whose presence often commands attention, not because they speak loudly, but because they carry a silent authority rooted in truth. People with this mark tend to possess natural leadership abilities, not in the corporate sense, but in the deeper realm of guiding others toward clarity, purpose, and healing. Their insight often cuts through the noise. They sense deception, they feel energy shifts, and they carry a refined inner compass that always seems to know which way to turn, even when logic says otherwise. The M is more than a shape. It is a spiritual badge of discernment. Just as the M reveals intellectual and intuitive mastery, the crescent moon, often found near the base of the palm, close to the wrist, reveals emotional and subconscious depth. The moon, across cultures and spiritual traditions, has always been a symbol of cycles, mystery, and divine intuition. To bear this mark is to be someone who lives not just through the mind, but through the soul's whispers. Men with this symbol are often inwardly reflective, attuned to their emotional landscapes in a way that allows them to understand others beyond words. They may experience vivid dreams, intuitive downloads, or sudden knowing that comes without explanation. This connection to the unseen is not coincidental. It is part of a spiritual inheritance, a gift of perception that transcends the five senses. The crescent moon on the palm is a signature of those who are not only emotionally intelligent, but spiritually resonant. Both the M and the crescent moon link directly to ancient practices of palmistry, which was never intended merely as fortune-telling, but as a sacred spiritual science. For centuries, spiritual elders, mystics, and shamans read palms as if they were divine texts, decoding them to understand a person's soul purpose and karmic lessons. In these traditions, your hand was seen as a mirror of your inner universe, a map that reflected the agreements your soul made before entering this lifetime. These markings were never seen as accidental. They were signs left by spirit, reminders of who you are and what you came here to do. To have both the M and the crescent moon is rare, and it suggests not just sensitivity, but mastery. You are not only capable of accessing higher insight, but of using it to help others evolve. This spiritual connection often manifests in everyday life through subtle yet powerful experiences. You may find that people confide in you without knowing why, or that strangers feel comforted in your presence. Your words may have the power to heal, and your silence may offer peace. These are signs of a soul that has cultivated deep wisdom, one that doesn't seek to impress, but to serve. Empathy, intuition, and soul perception are tools you've brought with you, not just for personal growth, but for uplifting others. You may not have studied spirituality in books, but your life experiences have been your spiritual curriculum. The M gives you the mind of a teacher, the crescent moon the heart of a healer. Together, they shape a man of profound depth and spiritual capacity. Your palm, in this sense, becomes more than flesh. It becomes a script written by your soul before you arrived. The lines are not random. They are reflections of your mission. The M reflects your ability to think clearly, feel deeply, and lead wisely. The crescent moon reveals your ability to sense, to dream, to guide others through the unseen. These markings are not just about identity, they are about destiny. And for those who bear them, life is not an accident, it is a calling. Every decision you make, every life you touch, carries the weight of this spiritual design. These signs invite you to remember who you are, not with pride, but with sacred responsibility. If you feel a deep connection to ancient wisdom and believe these spiritual markings carry a message for your soul, it's time to embrace that truth. Comment below, "I carry ancient wisdom," to affirm your spiritual heritage and let the world know you're ready to awaken the gifts within. 3. Leadership potential. The M on your palm isn't merely a random crease. It is a spiritual imprint, a silent symbol of your innate leadership energy. This marking often appears on the hands of individuals who possess a rare kind of clarity, especially when life becomes chaotic. You are someone who can stay focused in moments of emotional turbulence. Your mind remains alert, your intuition sharp, and your heart grounded in empathy. The M speaks of emotional intelligence that goes beyond intellectual understanding. It's the ability to feel deeply, respond wisely, and see through confusion with spiritual calmness. People with this mark are often gifted at reading the energy in the room, sensing what's unsaid, and making decisions that others might hesitate to take. You may not always recognize this in yourself, but others feel it. They're drawn to your quiet strength, your deep eyes, and your grounded presence. That is the kind of leadership the world needs: authentic, calm, and spiritually aware. The crescent moon symbol, if it appears on your hand, often in the area of the base of the thumb or near the wrist, carries a different yet equally sacred energy. It reflects a soul that is aligned with the subtle vibrations of human emotion and divine timing. This mark suggests heightened empathy and emotional resonance. People with this sign are often healers, not necessarily in a medical sense, but spiritually and emotionally. You may have noticed that strangers feel safe around you. Friends call you during their darkest moments. You intuitively know what someone needs even before they speak. That's not just a coincidence. That's spiritual sensitivity in action. The crescent moon represents your connection to lunar energy, an energy of cycles, intuition, and feminine wisdom. You lead by attunement, not authority. You feel the invisible shifts in others and help them find their balance. That's a gift rooted in ancient wisdom. Together, the M and the crescent moon point to someone who naturally steps into leadership, not because they chase it, but because they embody it. You may find yourself organizing people, taking responsibility even when it's not required, or creating harmony where there was previously conflict. You might be the one to speak up when others fall silent, or the one who stays calm when everyone else is spiraling. This isn't something you learn from a textbook. It's written in your spiritual DNA. Leadership is not always about being the face of a project. Sometimes it's about holding the energy, protecting the space, or simply being the presence that reminds others of their worth. These traits aren't loud, but they are lasting. It's important to remember that leadership is not a title. It is a frequency, a spiritual vibration that affects every room you walk into. True leaders are often hidden in plain sight. They don't need praise, but their absence is always felt. You are one of those people. If you carry these markings, it's a sign you were chosen not to dominate, but to inspire. Your compassion, your clarity, your grounded emotional presence, these are the tools of real leadership in a spiritually starving world. These marks are not there by accident. They are divine reminders of who you are and what you are here to do. Whether it's guiding one person back to themselves or quietly leading a group without recognition, your purpose is felt. And when you accept that these traits are not burdens, but blessings, you begin to walk differently. You speak with more conviction, you love with more presence, and you serve with more soul. This is the spiritual legacy of those marked by the M and the crescent moon, not to be seen, but to see, not to control, but to uplift, not to lead with power, but with presence. If you feel the call to lead with heart, clarity, and purpose, this message is for you. The signs are already in your hands, literally. Comment below, "I lead with purpose," if you're ready to embrace your spiritual leadership and inspire others through compassion and strength. 4. Healing abilities. The letter M on your palm is not just a coincidence of lines. It reflects a unique alignment of the mind, heart, and spirit. This configuration is believed to mark individuals with a spiritual calling, especially in the realm of healing and emotional connection. When this M appears clearly, it suggests that your inner world operates with deep coherence, allowing you to perceive not only your own emotional truths, but also those of others. Likewise, the crescent moon marking, often seen at the base of the fingernail or formed in the fine lines of the palm, is deeply symbolic. Across cultures, the moon represents intuition, transformation, and inner knowing. When its shape appears on your hand, it is said to reflect your heightened sensitivity to emotional vibrations and your ability to sense what others may not even verbalize. You may find that people naturally open up to you, drawn to your calm energy and ability to listen without judgment. You might pick up on sadness behind someone's smile, or feel discomfort in a room before anyone speaks. These are not random traits. They are expressions of a spiritual gift, an empathic presence that heals not through grand gestures, but through presence, understanding, and quiet strength. As Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That is your gift in action. You leave behind a trail of peace, clarity, and comfort. People remember you not for your words, but for the way their nervous system relaxed in your presence. Yet this gift is not about being supernatural. It's not about psychic visions or reading minds. It's about deep emotional intelligence, the ability to notice what others miss, to connect soul to soul without needing to explain yourself. This is where your spiritual power lies. You are wired to be a mirror for others, to reflect their light and shadow, and to hold them with sacred neutrality. And here's something even more powerful. This sensitivity doesn't only extend outward, it also turns inward. The same energy that allows you to feel others' pain gives you the capacity to heal your own wounds. You likely have experienced heartache, betrayal, or loss, yet emerged stronger, not because you avoided pain, but because you allowed it to move through you. This spiritual resilience is one of the most overlooked aspects of your gift. You don't just survive storms, you absorb their lessons. You understand that healing isn't linear, and that emotional strength isn't about avoiding tears, but honoring them. You are the quiet force in the room, the person who holds space when others can't hold themselves. Even in silence, your energy speaks volumes. Even in stillness, you provide stability. These markings on your hand serve as spiritual signatures, evidence that your soul came here with a mission not only to witness pain, but to transmute it. Not only to feel deeply, but to alchemize emotion into wisdom. So when you see that M, or that crescent moon, know that it's not decoration, it's declaration. A declaration of your spiritual identity, a reminder that you are here to help this world feel again, trust again, breathe again. Your hands are not just tools for action. They are maps of the heart, echoing your inner wisdom and your sacred presence. The healing you carry is real. It's rooted in your lived experience, shaped by your suffering, and polished by your compassion. And the world is quietly transformed each time you simply choose to show up and be fully present. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. If you resonate with the healing energy within you, type in the comments, "I am a source of healing and peace." 5. Unlocking hidden potential. The lines on your palm are more than just biological patterns. They are ancient blueprints, spiritual symbols etched into your being that carry clues about who you are and what you are here to become. Among these, the presence of the letter M stands out as a profound marker. It represents a rare combination of qualities: heightened intelligence, creative problem-solving, and an innate capacity for leadership. Men who bear this symbol are often quietly magnetic, able to command attention without forcing it, able to discern complexity and offer clarity. This M is not random. It is a spiritual stamp of mastery. It reveals a mind that doesn't just think, but also perceives deeply, a mind that sees through illusions and dares to question the norm. Those who carry it tend to hold a powerful internal compass, one that constantly pushes them to seek truth and challenge mediocrity. Alongside this mark, the crescent moon shape, whether found at the base of the fingernails or subtly carved into the palm, signals another layer of spiritual depth. This symbol is traditionally linked to emotional intelligence, intuition, and the inner tides of transformation. It suggests that your life path is guided not merely by logic, but by something more fluid and intuitive. You may find yourself sensitive to energies, picking up on things others miss, or feeling connected to people, places, and emotions in ways that defy explanation. The crescent moon calls attention to your spiritual receptivity. It points to a man who may not speak much, but who understands much. A man whose strength lies in his capacity to listen not just with his ears, but with his soul. These two symbols, together the M and the crescent moon, create a spiritual portrait of someone forged by adversity. Life may have tested you, perhaps even broken you at times. But these tests were not punishments. They were initiations. Hardships in your journey have carved out the inner architecture of resilience. If you look back, you may notice that your greatest pain has also been the source of your greatest power. This is no coincidence. It is part of a divine design, your scars becoming stars that light your way forward. The presence of these marks reveals that you are not here to blend in, but to break patterns, to awaken others by living your truth. To activate the full potential of these signs, you must begin by tuning into what lights you up from within. If you feel energized when creating, teaching, healing, or exploring spiritual realms, that is not a random interest, it is a signal. Spiritual wisdom flows most easily when we align our external actions with our internal truths. The more you resist what the world tells you to be, and instead follow what your soul knows you are, the more powerful your life becomes. The path forward is not about changing who you are, but about remembering who you've always been underneath the noise. Having these symbols is not simply a reflection of your past or even your potential. It is an active call to rise. These marks are not passive decorations. They are spiritual activators, urging you to step into your purpose, to wield your voice, and to become a beacon in a world full of confusion. The Crescent Moon and the M are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They remind you that your life is not meant to be ordinary. You are a mirror for hidden truths, a container for divine intelligence, and a vessel for transformation in the lives of others. Your spiritual power is not something to discover, it is something to accept. And in doing so, everything around you begins to shift. If this message awakens something within you, don't ignore it. Your potential is waiting to be unlocked. Comment below, "I am ready to rise into my highest self," to affirm your journey. And if this spoke to your soul, like the video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another step on your path of growth. Thank you for exploring this fascinating journey with us. Whether or not you see a crescent moon or the letter M on your hand, remember, your spiritual path is uniquely yours, and every sign is an invitation to go deeper within. If you found value in today's message, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming insights into the mysteries of the soul. Stay curious, stay connected, and keep growing.